It is very interesting how people are able to move from brokenness to breakthrough. It is a journey that is filled with so many ups and downs, so much pain, but there is also progress. In relationships, we should never allow infidelity to place us on the sidelines of life or on the sidelines of relationships. Too often we become complacent in our relationships, and every now and then, mates tend to hurt each other. If we can manage to move all of that pent-up hurt and anger toward focusing on our recovery, I truly believe that we will push ourselves toward the process of healing. Healing, like most things, doesn't come overnight. However, it gives you a slow grind to your peace that is so desperately needed. This episode of the Relationship Therapy Podcast will help bring others to that peace.
You've tuned into the Relationship Therapy Podcast with Tony Miller Sr., a podcast designed for couples who are married, couples who are dating, and have marriage in their future. We will guide you to the principles that will make your relationship better. Stick around. You might just learn something that will help your relationship last longer, grow stronger, and become healthier. Now, here's your host, Tony Miller Sr.
Hello, everybody. This is your host, Tony Miller Sr., and welcome to another episode of the Relationship Therapy Podcast. I have a very special episode for you. I have a real treat. I've invited someone to sit down with me for an interview, and I believe this interview can change so many people. It can help so many people. So encourage your family, your friends, your loved ones, and even your enemies to sit down and listen to this episode. My guest will tell us about her story and how she has been able to move past some of the issues and mistakes in her past. She'll tell you that she is in the process of her recovery from past relationship issues. What you won't hear her say is that she just might be living her best life right now. So let's take a listen to the interview. Hello, everybody. I'm excited to have this guest with me for this episode. I think it's important that this particular guest is here because we've been recently talking about recovery and making our way from past hurts and to getting through recovery to breakthrough and making sure that our paths forward are not hindered by our history and our past. So I want to introduce to you my guest for this episode, Miss Pearl Holmes. Miss Pearl, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. I thank you for coming on the podcast. I think we're going to have a great time. And I believe that you being here is going to be able to help somebody who listens to this along the way, because I think you have a powerful testimony. So I thank you for being here to share. So are you ready?
I am.
Let's get started. I got a series of questions that I want to ask you, and just ask that you answer them accordingly. So the first thing, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I am a mother of three, 46-year-old mother of three.
Girls, boys?
3 girls,
Okay.
ages 27, 23, and 8.
Okay.
I'm a mother of 3. Don't ask me the ages.
Okay.
I believe that's 5, 4, and 1. Who's had a very, very tumultuous relationship history. Not just my past, not my most recent, not just, it's always just, it's been a roller coaster for me. So.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, have you listened to some of my episodes here?
I have.
Okay. What do you think about what we're doing with this relationship therapy podcast?
I think it's always informative and touches on some not so comfortable conversations, things that people don't want to talk about, especially the current topic with the infidelity and those things. A lot of people aren't comfortable discussing those things.
Yeah.
And you've given some really good, strong points.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I thank you for listening. So you basically answered my next question. So I was going to ask you, have there been any topics in particular that you like? But I think that is the reason why you're here. We got to talking and we understood that there were some things in your history that you feel compelled to talk about. And we wanted you here on this podcast for this episode, just so that you could share. So let me ask a few other questions. Are you married?
I am not. Okay. I've been divorced now. I'm so bad with years, but I was divorced in 2000, and I think it became final 2013.
Okay. Tell me, what were some of the reasons for the separation, the divorce?
There was what at the time I did not identify as infidelity because a lot of people don't want to admit, but as I have grown, I committed infidelity, but not in a physical form. But I was headed there.
Okay.
My infidelity was in the form of emotional attachment to someone else. A lot of people don't see that when we're having outside conversations as infidelity. But one of the podcasts you talked about those different types of infidelity, and that was my form of infidelity.
Yeah. A lot of people don't think there's such thing as emotional infidelity. And when you grow attached to someone and you're craving to be around that person, that becomes emotional. So it was basically you.
It was.
Who, all right. Well, good. Was the divorce painful?
So the interesting thing about it, during those conversations, because the infidelity was mostly via talking, cell phone, text messaging. During those conversations, I had convinced myself that I wasn't doing anything wrong. So when I was found out, quote unquote, now that I've grown, at the time, I didn't realize how easy it was for me to walk away because I didn't think I was cheating, right? But it was so easy to walk away because I had grown this unintentional, I'd grown. At that time, it was an unintentional attachment to this person. So it was easy for me to walk away because unknowingly to myself, I had, in so many words, cheated. So it was easy for me to walk away because there was something to walk away to.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was not painful that week.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and that happened back in 2013. The divorce was final.
It happened. Yes, it was final. It happened in the end of 2011.
Okay. So now in this season in your life, how are you doing?
So relationships are hard. I got to back up. So in this season, we'll back up. The reason why I say we're going to back up because I am doing really well right now.
Okay.
Really well. I did not fare well. This has been a hard 8-9 years. I did not fare well because I thought I was walking out of a relationship that was easy, but it wasn't. It wasn't finished. It should have never occurred. And there was a lot of pain and hurt that I went through these years, trying to find myself, dragging other people into unfinished situations, starting new relationships and not being closed out of that one. And I drug people into situations that people into situations that they shouldn't have been drugged into, because my heart was still. Well, see, once I hung up that phone and stopped that text message, and I had that good week, I realized that my heart never healed.
Yeah. Sometimes when we finally analyze ourselves, we see the error of our ways. I was just talking to a gentleman the other day about some of the things I learned about myself in marriage. When I go and analyze it and really think about it, I was wrong. And I made those mistakes and tried to recover from those things. And speaking of recovery, what are some of the things that help you move past those times?
Often in life, we make decisions and we think we have time. And we just go through life in day-to-days and think that we have time. What forced me to move past those times is that my ex-husband passed away. And we never did, because I had moved on to another relationship, we never got back together. When he passed away, he was my best friend, but he passed away. It wasn't until he passed away that I was able to close that chapter and look at the chapter I was currently in, to take a long, hard look into the mirror and dissect myself. So he passed away. That's how I closed the chapter. That was your closure. Because every day it was a struggle. For the last 8 years, 9 years has been a struggle.
Okay. All right. So in the whole grand scheme of things, I know you said right now you're fine. Do you feel like you fully recovered from what had happened in the past? No. Can you elaborate why you feel that way?
I just struggled with so many days. I struggled with the struggle for me is that it just should not have been. We move through life and we make decisions without fully thinking them out, thinking about the people we hurt, the people we're affecting, and only to be upside down, like all of that for nothing. It just should have never been. So I move differently now. I have way more empathy than I had, because I consider everybody that I may affect in all things I do now.
Okay.
So what was the question? I'm sorry.
Well, those things, have you fully recovered? You feel like you've fully recovered? I'm recovering. I'm recovering.
So it's a process. It is a process.
Okay.
And it feels good to be actively recovering.
Okay. What were some of the things that you grabbed hold of to help you in this process?
The one of the things that happened, what was interesting, was when me and my ex-husband split, I left church.
Okay.
I left church because when there's a split of friends, right. There's a split of church family, there's a split of everybody. Everybody's going to take a side, right? And it shouldn't be that way, but most people do. So I left church, and I left church for quite a few years. I began to party a lot, drink a lot, I just changed. I changed. I was unidentifiable to myself. I was unidentifiable to my children, and especially to my ex-husband. He was like, who is this? And that went on for a few years. And then what I have grasped back to is I still had my relationship with with God, but I didn't have fellowship. I didn't have church family. I didn't have anybody in my ear. I had acquired a whole new type of friend. So I didn't have anybody in my ear saying, this don't look good. This, this is not the way to go. And so most recently, and it's probably like the last 2 years, I gravitated back. Well, right before COVID. And that's what I've grasped to.
Okay.
I actually went back to my roots.
Okay. Well, good. Every time we lose ourselves, it's always good to go back to what we know what's best for us. And sometimes we don't see those things.
Right.
And so that's good that you did that. Let me ask a deep question here. Do you consider yourself to be a strong woman?
I do.
In what ways?
I consider myself to be a strong woman because of my perseverance. One of the things when I like to think of when I think of God, when I think of my relationships with Christ and just how we should be as Christians, and I know this is just who I am. When I think of how we should be as Christians, and I just think of how some people get knocked, and when whatever they're going through, it hits them, and they try to stand strong. I think of myself like those redwood trees in California. I think of myself like those trees, and I think when I wish that more people could be like those trees, because when the wind blows, the tree bends. When the hurricane comes, the tree bends. When whatever typhoon comes, everything just, nature, it bends, but it don't break. Sometimes it breaks.
Sometimes, yeah.
But I have been that tree that has bent. And then when it blew me this way, when the adversary blew me this way, I was always able to stand right back up. I never fell. Now it got hard, but I didn't break.
Right.
So I transparency is good for the soul. Confession is good for the soul. It's bad for the reputation. I have been suicidal. I have done 7 days. I have done several trips to for my mental illness that I've dealt with, and I just never broke. Still, I rise. I do find myself to be a strong woman. A year ago, 2 years ago, I didn't consider myself a strong woman. Right now, today, I stand as a strong woman. I think that I'm a strong woman. But I also know that I don't have to be all the time. I figured that out.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That is good. It seems as though you are in the process, and you're in that recovering process, and that's good. If you're able to help some other woman that they have to recover from some of their relationship drama, what would be your advice to them?
This is one of the things that when I went through marital counseling, when I got married 20-something years ago, and I hear it all the time, and I've even heard it on your podcast, it's one of the things we always tell people in relationships is to communicate. But communication, if you can get it, verbal communication is very important. But we also have to know our person. So what they don't say is way louder sometimes than what's being said.
Yeah, that's good.
What's not being spoken is way louder than what's being said. I've been in retail management all my life. That's all I know. That's all I've ever done. Leadership role. And so I always tell people when I train them, and when I'm developing what I call unicorns in the field, I always tell them, don't stress if I'm riding you. If I'm on you every day, don't stress. It's when I stop. It's where the problem begins.
Okay. Yeah.
So my advice would be to listen to what's not being said. to pay attention, to not be so bogged. Don't to if I could give any advice in relationship drama is the other thing, and I equate this to work as well. Don't listen to respond. Take a breath. Listen to what the person is saying before you respond. Listen to what's being said. Don't just, as they're talking and in your mind, you're getting your rebuttal together.
Mm-hmm.
Hear what someone is saying to you, because it's in between the words. It's the body language. Pay attention to your person.
Okay. I talked about that a few weeks ago
Mm-hmm.
when I was talking in the episode where there were 6 things to kind of help, or steps
Mm-hmm.
that can help you in your relationship when you go through that little lull
Mm-hmm.
time. We're not talking about the infidelity time, but there's just certain times within a marriage that you're not rowing the
Mm-hmm.
same way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the steps. You got to listen to understand and comprehend
Mm-hmm.
instead of just listening so that you can hurry up and speak.
Right.
So that's good. That's great advice.
Before the infidelity, if you're listening to what's not being said, it's coming. It shows its face, especially, and I like on the podcast when we talked about the signs, women and men, the different types and everything. But as a woman, I had given all the signs. I was my ex-husband developed illness. He became sick. He ended up on dialysis, and we were very young. And but all the signs were there. He couldn't see them because he was going through what he was going through. We were very young, so I unselfishly, I didn't know how to navigate that. I didn't know how to navigate that. There's no marriage counseling. We say we give those vows for sick or for poor and stuff like that. But when you're 23 getting married, 24, the pastor did not talk about the sick and he
Right.
talked about the communication as we would be healthy for the rest of our life. So but I had displayed all the signs of somebody that was going to be on my way out, but he couldn't see it because of what he was going through.
Right.
So empathy is so important when you decide to make that step into that relationship or that marriage or that engagement. You got to be willing to literally, I think that the vows should be the basis of I know we do. When I went to marriage counseling again, it was just starting. People weren't doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and so we were actually the first couple that this pastor had married. So it was a lot of biblical teaching, but those vows need to be taken line by line and
Mm-hmm.
dissected, because that sickness and health. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot
Yeah.
to take on. So I had displayed all the signs of somebody. I in my mind it was justified, but in hindsight it definitely wasn't. But
Right.
but just listen and be receptive to the person that is your person, the person that you say you love. Because if this is somebody you got to argue with word for word all the time, that may not be your person. Because two people that love each other, because love covers a multitude of things. Of sins. So if this is your true person, you'll be able to communicate. And if it gets to that point where you're starting to argue, my other advice is to not be afraid to seek therapy and counseling together. That's so important.
Yeah. I know you talked about premarital counseling, and one of the things I try to create an atmosphere of, there's going to be some foundational biblical teachings,
Mm-hmm.
but also some practical experiential things
Mm-hmm.
that either I've gone through, I've heard others go through, or I've researched and heard about, so that we won't cover everything that may happen in a marriage, but we will cover a lot
Mm-hmm.
of practical things and biblical things that will help enough to where if you can't fix it yourself, and you said it, seek help outside of yourselves. That's right. Good. Mm-hmm. That's good. We're about to wind down this interview, and it's been a great interview. I'm hoping that everyone who is listening, and that's male and female, are getting something out of this, because you've given some great information for them to grab hold of. If I was to have you describe yourself in 1 or 2 words, what would those 1 to 2 words be?
I think about this all the time because I always say, if I pass tomorrow, what would people say at my funeral? And I know they would say, she's hardworking. And that would be one. And I don't want to be described as that. I think that if I could describe myself, it would be light and it would be empathetic now. But it would be light, because when I walk in a place, I want people to see light.
That's good. That is good. I understand that totally. I understand exactly what you're saying. There's not enough empathy in the world today, because it seems like everybody's out for themselves.
Absolutely.
And you have to be empathetic with what other people are dealing with. I just recently shared in one of our Bible studies about a young man who had a lot of life, and you never know. He turned up dead, and they were some early ideas is that he committed suicide. Whether he did or not, one of the things we have to understand, people go through things, and we're some of the best actors in the world, as if something or nothing is wrong with us. So, well, listen, I want to get you out of here with this, because I didn't want to keep you too long, but here's the final question. Do you have any final comments that you would like to share before we get out of here?
The one thing that I would like to share, and I know this is a relationship podcast, is don't spend your life looking for peace and serenity and joy and all type of things in people and relationships, because I have. Know yourself, because you have nothing to offer to anybody if you don't know who you are. You're like a hamster on a wheel, just turning, and hoping that that person will complete you. If you are not whole and complete, you are no good for anybody else. So let's not drag people into those situations. Know yourself, love yourself. And then, and I'm not talking about independent woman or anything like that. I'm talking about heart, soul, mind, body. Know yourself.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So that you can present yourself to someone as a whole person, not broken.
Yeah. Yeah. We like to, that movie where the actor, I forget his name, but he said to the lady that he had been trying to get with during the whole movie, he said, "You complete me." And so many of us ran with that. And you must be complete and whole before you can even jump into a relationship, because relationships are hard. It is I won't even say 24/7. I'll say it's a 25/8, because there's some overlap there too. And you have to work on them every day. I've been married 34 years, and it is some hard work. There's some ebb and flow in relationships, and so you just got to be able to handle that and know who you are. You said that, know your identity. Well, listen, Pearl, we thank you for coming on here, and any other time you want to share with us here at the Relationship Therapy Podcast, you have an open invitation, because I think you're going to help so many people, male and female, and you've given us some nuggets. If people wanted to get in touch with you, do you have a Facebook page?
I do have a Facebook page. I've actually been trying to scale back on social media, but I do have a Facebook page. It's Pearl Holmes.
Pearl Holmes, okay.
Yes, so I've been trying to scale back on social media as much as I am transitioning into this new me. And when I come back, I want to make sure that I have something to say.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I believe you will. Processes tend to have lessons in them also.
Right.
That's good. Yeah.
But I'm Pearl Holmes on Facebook.
Okay. Well, great. Well, we'll make sure we put those in the show notes in the information. So listen, we've been sitting here talking with Miss Pearl Holmes. She's shared so much of her life and where she's at. As she says, she's in the process of recovery, and she's in a good place now. So we thank her for being here with us. So we're getting ready to close, but as usual, as we end, we like to say this: it takes two to make a relationship work. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Relationship Therapy Podcast with Tony Miller Sr. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. Tune in next time for more insight on how to make your relationship better. If you have any questions, please email us at tmrelationshiptherapy@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, remember, it takes two to make the relationship work.